All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another collaboration beer, this time between Brewery Ommegang, and they're out of Cooperstown, New York, and the AleSmith Brewing Company, and they're out of San Diego, California, and this is their Philosophy and Velocity, the East Coast edition. So they're calling this one a blend of a Belgian-style quadruple ale with an Imperial coffee stout. It comes in at 10.8% alcohol by volume. No IBUs this in time of review. This can is approximately 2.5 months old. So they have a little spiel here on the side, but then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this collaboration. But it says, an epic cross-country collision of Imperial ales. Philosophy and Velocity combines two iconic dark beers, Ommegang's Three Philosophers and AleSmith's Speedway Stout, into a high-octane dissertation on darkness. A mesmerizing melange of cocoa, coffee, caramel, and smooth, dark fruit notes. Drink now or cellar appropriately. So basically, they brewed two different variations of this one. They brewed an East Coast edition and a West Coast edition. The East Coast edition took the Three Philosophers from Ommegang, and they blended it with a Belgian-inspired version of Speedway Stout. They didn't just take the regular Speedway Stout. They actually brewed in a Belgian-inspired version, which I'd imagine includes Belgian yeast, and that's how they did their blend. Meanwhile, the West Coast edition from AleSmith, they take their Speedway Stout and they blended it with an American-inspired version of Three Philosophers. So I think it's cool they did two different versions of this one. I am reviewing the East Coast one. Probably never get a chance to try the West Coast one. So if you have had the West Coast or you've had both of them and compared them, let me know what you think about them. I'd be curious to know how different these ones are. So yeah, anyway, I've also seen some friends on Untappd drink this one. And one person specifically that I usually agree with about 80-90% of the time is my good friend, viewer of the channel, Sadiq. He had this one. I think he gave it like a 3 or 3.25. He was kind of disappointed with it. In his Untappd check-in, he said something like, man, we can no longer get Weyerbacher's or Weyerbacher's Tiny, which is a Belgian Imperial Stout, but we get this instead, and he was not digging it. But I saw a couple other friends actually enjoy it to some degree, so I'll be curious to see how this one lands for me, because I really like Three Philosophers. I love Speedway Stout, and you got a blend of the two, basically. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this one is. Let's give it a pour into the hashtag proper glassware. So yeah, that's kind of pouring out what you'd expect from a blend of the two beers, honestly. Yeah, I don't know, not much else to say. So yeah, that very carbonated, as you can see on the head. So this pours out a really deep, dark mahogany color, because I see at the bottom here, I see like this like lighter mahogany, but like up here, pitch black. Down here, not as much. On camera, probably just be pitch black everywhere, but definitely not just straight pitch black. Has about a 2.5 finger of this really nice. It's like a tan into slightly reddish color, super creamy looking. That honestly, that looks like a beautiful beer. Not much more to say about it. Let's get a nose. 2.5 months old too, so hopefully the coffee has kind of, kind of not. It hasn't faded. Let's just say that. Huh. I'm getting a lot of like ashy, roasty, kind of like Imperial Stout characters, but then I'm getting this underlying like dark, sweeter dark cherry. A little bit of a metallic note. Man, I'm getting like a slight umami character, almost soy sauce-esque. Like if you've ever had an Imperial Stout or like a barrel-aged stout that you've maybe aged too long, and it just brings on that umami character, that soy sauce character. I'm kind of getting that now, and this is only 2.5 months in the can. A little bit of like caramel and toffee. There's dark chocolate, like a sweeter dark chocolate. There's molasses here. Very complex. One thing I'm not really getting is coffee. Maybe that ashiness, maybe that like roastiness could be mixed with in with everything, but they're blending the two beers. It smells like it's going to be sweet, but not overly so. The nose smells somewhat disjointed to me, to be honest with you. It smells like those two beers, but they didn't blend together in a perfect harmony. They kind of, are blending, stop. They can't kind of pushing one another back. Doesn't smell bad. It just smells like it's not a perfect harmony. That's all. It's, yeah. Anyway, hopefully it tastes much better. Cheers, everybody. Let me go back in. It's not bad, but man, is it lacking. Because these two, they say even on the site iconic, when I think of Ommegang, I think of Three Philosophers. When I think of AleSmith, I think of Speedway Stout. Those are the like two I don't even want to say flagship, but those are like the two iconic beers that most people know them from. And while it's a cool concept and that they did two different versions and whatnot, I would love to try the AleSmith version because this one just, it's very disjointed. First off, body, 10.8%. Like medium, higher side of medium, it is thin. The mouthfeel, it's soft, smooth, and creamy, but it has more carbonation. It's a Belgian, style. So it's one of those beers where like you get the carbonation, but it's still soft and smooth. So body and mouthfeel are fine. Maybe, like I said, a touch thin, but I like the mouthfeel. The taste, let's try to dissect this one. Right at the forefront, there's an ashy, really roasty, almost charred kind of like Imperial stout kind of character. I am getting a little bit coffee after that too, so I'm actually getting coffee in the taste. Right after that, I'm hit with this like sweeter dark cherry, which is kind of fine to me. Like it's okay. I really like the sweet dark cherry note I get in Three Philosophers. But right after that coffee and like that ashy character, it just kind of combines and just, I don't know, it's fine, but it's just not anything that's amazing. Right after that, I don't get a lot of umami, but I get like molasses, caramel, toffee, dark chocolate, a lot of the Imperial stouts hitting. But it's not like super sweet or anything. Yeah, ashiness, charred malt, dark cherry, molasses, and then like a darker, like bittering, like baker's chocolate, a little bit of caramel and toffee. It's all over the fucking place for the front of the palate. It's crazy to me. Mid palate bitterness hits, and there's this really like drying earthiness too. It finishes with a mild to moderate bitterness, a semi-dry finish. There's a little bit of like a nice residual sweetness to this one. I will say this is not overly sweet, but I think I wanted a little bit sweeter. I think a little bit more sweetness to this one at almost 11% would really be welcoming to me. To me, that ashy, really deeply charred like malt character at the front of the palate's kind of fucking with me. I think that's the issue I have with this one right now. We'll say 10.8%. I am getting no alcohol on the palate. I'm getting a little bit of like a chest warming, very slight, but almost 11%. Hides the alcohol extremely well. There's an underlying like Belgian yeast kind of component that's just distinctive of like Ommegang's beers, but just like just a Belgian yeast kind of component in general. Has like this spicy kind of finish to, or spicy underlying spiciness to it. I thought it was cool that they did like, Ommegang did a Belgian-inspired version of Speedway, and then AleSmith did a American-inspired version of Three Philosophers. Now, I'm kind of wishing they just would have just blended the two beers together. I'm not like the biggest fan of Belgian beers. I mean, if you ask me what I like quads, I like strong darks, I like doubles. I like those beers. I don't like lighter, typically Belgian style ales. But I really like Three Philosophers, but I just think them brewing that Belgian-inspired Imperial coffee stout and then blending it with, I think I would just rather have the Speedway Stout. It's disjointed, but I don't hate it. Like, this is not a terrible or bad beer, but for what I love of each of these beers, I think they just don't blend together. That's why I would have liked to see just the base regular Speedway Stout blended with this one. So rating on the Philosophy and Velocity East Coast Edition, low 3.5 out of 5. I'll go 3.4 out of 5. I think I like it a little bit better than the aforementioned Sadiq. I don't like it as much as a couple other Untapped friends. I think the biggest thing for me is that I'd like a little bit more sweetness out of this, and that ashy, charry kind of like front of the palate from the Imperial Stout is, I think it's just like, it's like a leadoff hitter in baseball. You're trying to set up the inning and your team for success. And I think the beginning of the palette didn't do that here. It's stopping. It's like, he bunted into he popped out on a bunt or something. Like something, he's trying to reach base, but he can't reach base. And it's an easy out. That's kind of how the malt character is here. It's like it's trying to set something up and it just didn't do it that well and kind of ruins the rest of the beer. I'm going to drink the rest of it. I'm not going to hate it. It's not a drain pour. It's just when you're talking about two iconic beers like this and two really just good breweries in general, I just want more from this one. I was hoping for a lot more and I didn't get it. So low 3.5 out of 5. We'll go 3.4. Price point and availability. I think these were $16 a 4-pack. I think I paid like $4 for that can. Not bad for a 10.8% blended beer. Now, what I know about it and how I enjoy it, I would obviously not pick this one up again. But if you see this one out here, whether it's the East Coast or West Coast edition, give it a try. I mean, Ommegang and AleSmith typically brew really good beer. And this is just, like I said, a miss for me personally. But it's still fun to try. And who knows, you might love it. There might be, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. Because, like I said, I only had a couple untapped friends check this one in. I'd be curious to know what other people think about it. And availability, wherever you see Ommegang and AleSmith, you should be able to either get the East Coast edition or the West Coast, or who knows, maybe both. And like I said, if you've had both of them, post in the comment section. Definitely just let me know. Just let me know which one's better, which one do you prefer, and maybe you don't prefer either of them. Maybe you love both of them. Who knows? But I want to hear the feedback. That's kind of why I do this channel, is to hear feedback from other people, and especially when it's a beer that I kind of don't care for. I love to hear the feedback on other people, because there's many times I'll post a review and I'm just like, I don't really care for that beer, and I'll have someone be like, it's delicious. Like, I totally disagree, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. That's just the beauty of all this. So, yeah. Like I said, best part about this, almost 11%. You can't taste the alcohol. And I don't really hate the finish. And like the mid part to the back of the palate, I really don't. It's fine. It's just the front of the palate kind of sets it up, and it doesn't do so in a good way. So, appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. And until the next one, cheers.